ilikuwa 28 Januari tarehe 3 saa 4 asubuhi. Ni rafiki ya bwana yangu askari akatoa bunduki akaniambia, acha nikuambie, huku hata ukipiga nduru hautasaidika. Ujaribu kuitana, hakuna mtu atakusaidia. For one, hakuna serikali. Sasa sisi zote ni civilian. Nikamwambia, na unataka kufanya? Akaniambia, unataka kuona ile kitu nitafanya? Akaninyonga kabisa, nikaisha pumzi. Aliweza kunidunga hapa na bunduki, hii mguu ikakufa. Nikaweza, siwezi fanya kitu yoyote sasa. Akanishika hii mkono, akaitwist, nikaona atanivunja mkono. Alinizidi nguvu, hapo ndiye aliweza kunirape. Kwa hospitali nikapimwa, nikaambiwa mimi ni mgonjwa. Ilikuwa tarehe 8, tarehe 10 baada ya election ya tarehe 8 mwezi wa 8. Ilikuwa natoka kazi saa 3 ya usiku. Hapo ndipo nilikutana na makalau. Kulikuwa kumetokea fujo baada ya kutangazwa matokeo ya kula. Walikuwa wengi, zaidi wa 10. Wakaniuliza, unatoka wapi? Nikawaambia mimi natoka kazi. Wakaniambia, kuja hapa. Sasa wakanishika, wakanisilabu, wakaniweka chini na wakaanza kunileave. Sasa ndio hapo nikaachwa, ni kama nimesilai, nikiwa sinjiwezi.
We are still falling short of the standard of that what we should reach of general elections. Violence has no place in elections in a civilized nation. Our stand here at the Commission is that sexual violence is a special kind of torture. It is the worst kind of torture. It's one thing to be tortured and break your leg. But when you're totally violated sexually, most times in a gang situation, you destroy the very psyche and the very soul of a person. When you damage the sanctity, the bodily integrity of an individual through rape and other sexual offenses, when you damage the very soul of a person, and it becomes a continuing violation, because it is so difficult to bridge that integrity of a person and the wholeness of a person. And therefore, we have to look at these particular cases so as special cases and of needing more long-term care and attention to rebuild the lives, the morale, the esteem, the confidence of every victim.
The unfortunate thing is that unlike the other acts of violations that we experienced as a country at that time, nothing has happened in terms of compensation or even giving some form of award to these women, mostly who suffered horrendous acts of sexual and gender-based violence. Nobody has been prosecuted. Nobody was brought to book. That was 2007. We've seen a repeat of that in 2017 during the just concluded election. The violence targets the most vulnerable in our society. If you look at the trends and patterns that we're able to document as a commission, it's mostly in the so-called informal settlements of Nairobi, the poor women, the vulnerable women.
Walikuwa wamekaa kila mtaa wa phase 4 kusunguka phase 3 yote, walikuwa wamemwakwa wengi.
We needed to go back under a cover of some protection, building trust with victims so that we can carefully document their stories and the evidence related to these incidences. And it is in this respect that we developed a report.
The Commission embarked on an elaborate process to address sexual violence during the 2017 general election, and this is taking into consideration the unique circumstances of sexual violence during a conflict situation. So the Commission had to address itself to certain key elements. Where were these survivors? Where were these violations taking place? Who did the Commission need to partner with to address these violations? What kind of skills did the Commission have so that it can be able to effectively undertake the documentation process? Armed with this information is that the Commission, led by the Elections Hub, undertook field interviews. And basically these interviews were individual, where the statements were taken from the survivors by highly trained KNCHR investigators, and that captured the various elements of sexual violence that would be credible in terms of accountability. The Commission relied heavily on the community civil society organizations, on the gender and human rights defenders who were our eyes on the ground and led us to where the survivors were. And this is how the Commission was able to conduct the individual statement taking with the survivors.
Sexual violence during the time of elections was a bit too high. Over 200 cases of sexual violence were monitored. We also monitored almost 70, I think 67 cases of forceful entries into private properties and private homes. And forceful entries by especially security personnel is extremely threatening and scaring to families. And it induces untold trauma.
A one-stop shop that really addresses all the issues of sexual and gender-based violence, especially within the electoral environment, is something that we should be moving towards as a country. And also even the issue of setting up shelters and safe houses, absolutely important, because we realize that the reason why the 201 may not be the cases that the whole country reported, but we know there could be so many other women out there who, for fear of stigma and retribution by the perpetrators, will not be willing to come forward. So setting up shelters, setting up safe houses, working very closely with agencies who we partner with, like the Witness Protection Agency, will ensure that we create a safe environment for women to come forward and report, especially women and girls who suffer the bulk of these violations, to come forward and report these violations in a safe environment.
Ile nilienda kulipoti, niliambiwa, niliulizwa, unakuja kulipoti kama mwenye alinifanyia hiyo kitendo najua. Nikasema tu ni askari. Sasa hapo walinitoa wakanifukuza. Sikuweza hata kuandikisha statement yoyote.
Siuko sawa. Siuko sawa. Tumbo ikianza kuniuma hata siamkaki. Na zile hospitali muenda saa zingine wananichaji pesa mingi, lazima nifanywe scanning ndio wajue wananitibu nini. Hizo madawa sana wacha tu nikae hivyo ningoje tu kitu ile tu happen.
Going forward, we will work with the other actors. We will find ways of ensuring that, again, we work with the ODPP, we work with the police, we work with the survivors and victims to see if we can lodge even public interest litigation cases so that those ones who are behind these heinous crimes are brought to book, and we as a country then start saying, no, enough is enough. We saw this in 2007. We have seen it in 2017. We don't want to see it in 2022.
Naweza tena sana kuomba kama kuna haki za binadamu, kama kuna haki za kutetea binadamu, initokeze njuu hata mimi nipate mwangaza.
Huyo askari juu yuko na ni mtu ninajua, pia yeye ashikwe. ndio at least nione nimepata justice. Bila hivyo siwezi ona nimepata justice. Tu hata nikilipwa na watu wako hapo nje wanatembea, kesho sijui watafanyia nani mwingine hivyo.